Welcome to Season 5 of the Color Success Podcast, where we talk with guests from AAPI and ethnic minority communities and have real discussions about mental health and what success looks like. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong. Before we get into it, remember to subscribe to our mailing list for free at colorsuccesspodcast.com so you don't miss any updates. There, you will find our socials, YouTube channel, and all episodes on streaming platforms for great additional content. I'm so happy to have Lulu Ge here, who created Elix in 2020 to destigmatize and normalize menstrual and hormonal health through an East meets West approach. A portmanteau of Elixir and Helix, Elix is the first digital platform to combine traditional Chinese medicine's 5,000 years of wisdom with a proprietary algorithm to empower self-healing. The company formulates pure and potent liquid herbal extracts to treat hormonal imbalances at the root cause of painful and life-disrupting symptoms. By digitizing in-depth TCM health assessments and consults, Elix offers easy access to personalized herbal liquid formulas to heal holistically. Lulu experienced debilitating pain after going off birth control at a pivotal point in her career, but she found her way back to her TCM roots and was quickly able to heal from within. Recognizing a white space, Lulu launched Elix at the height of the pandemic. The company just completed the first of its kind clinical trial that independently validates the efficacy of its hero product, Cycle Balance, on significantly reducing the severity of 15 common menstrual symptoms. So, Lulu, thank you so much for joining me on this show today. I'm so excited to talk about everyone's favorite topic, periods.
Stephanie, it's a pleasure and joy to be here. Thank you for all that you do for the community.
Well, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about periods. Let's talk about your journey. I know I alluded to it in the intro, but what led you to create this wonderful product?
Well, it all started with my own roller coaster journey, trying to understand my hormone health. And, if we rewind 5 years ago, I had just been promoted to a huge new role. I spent a decade in management consulting, then went in-house, and I got promoted into a role where I was overseeing $300 million worth of strategic initiatives. I was traveling. Yeah, all over the place, working 70, 80-hour weeks. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was really seriously burnt out. I was drinking 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day, barely getting by on the sleep if I could fall asleep at night because I had so much on my mind. And, it was at this phase of like work hard, play hard, to let steam loose on the weekends. And all of these issues really manifested itself in my periods. I went off of birth control and I just started experiencing the most painful, sharp, stabbing feelings, migraines, bloating, hormonal acne. And in Chinese herbal medicine, our periods are actually a vital sign for our overall health. And so painful bleeding, irregular cycles, all of these things are actually connected to our level of energy, our appetite, our sleep, our skin, our hair, our nails, how we feel every day of the month. And being on birth control for a number of years, I just never had understood that connection. And I remember when I was looking for help with my periods, I went back to my gynecologist. Her only solution was to put me back on another form of synthetic hormones or give me something prescription level for the pain. And that's really when I found my way back to Chinese herbal medicine. My grandfather had actually ran a hospital in southern China in Hunan. It's where I was born. And Chinese medicine just really has a beautiful approach where every symptom from our body, whether it's fatigue, whether it's mood swing, whether it's pain, it's all a sign of an internal imbalance. And so rather than over medicating ourselves, if we can take a moment to understand what these signs and signals from our body is telling us, then we can actually heal at the root cause and feel so much better in our day-to-day lives. So I'm actually very grateful for this period of my life that allowed me to rediscover Chinese herbal medicine.
No pun intended. So tell me more though, because for males that are listening to this, I really want to build empathy. I know we have those funny TikTok, YouTube videos of them simulating cramps and things like that, but what was the experience like when your body was out of whack, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the first couple of months, I just thought I had the stomach flu because I never experienced that type of pain before. And it just felt like I ate something bad. And, for a lot of people with intense period symptoms, there's digestive upset too.
Yes.
And so I remember like waking up in the middle of the night with this like churning, this painful stabbing in my uterus. And I was never the person to call in sick to work, but I remember calling in sick for the first time in my life. I was just laying on the bathroom floor and I couldn't get up. And studies show that painful periods can be as intense as a heart attack. But yet we've kind of normalized,
Mm.
that periods should suck and women should just power through it, that I don't think we really understand the severity of these symptoms. And it also leads to a lack of solutions. Like I was shocked, Stephanie, to find out that 60% of birth control, hormonal contraceptive, is actually prescribed off label to manage a menstrual symptom. Like
Oh,
that's birth
wow.
control, yeah, has done amazing things for womanhood, but it was not invented to help regulate our hormones or our periods. But yet that's what it's being prescribed for because there's really no other solution.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I go through some pretty extreme things. I mean, definitely the week before, I feel like I want to scratch people's eyes out. And then, when it comes down to it, you could just feel the
Mhm.
blood just almost like it's ready. It's almost ready to let go. And I don't really think that some people really get that, and that for 2 weeks out of the month, you feel awful. And it's like, I've
Mhm.
been through pregnancy before, and this is just one of those things where I'm just like, do we really need to go through this every single month? And then, my mom jokes with me, like, I remember those days because, of course, she's menopause. And I was like, but then even if you're in menopause, you go through all these other things, right? And so it's like, when does this stuff end? And so I'm glad that we are talking about what this product can do, but also it's just a very personal thing as to why you're doing it, right? So what does it look like to be mentally healthy, and how can Elix really help in this regard? Because it's mind and body are so connected.
Yeah, definitely. And there's actually a strong connection between menstrual health and mental health. Because, like you mentioned, these symptoms of mood swings, anxiety, stress, it's actually shown that, there's a tight connection between stress and our menstrual cycle. There's this concept that one of our advisors calls the cortisol steal. So if we're experiencing chronic stress in our day-to-day lives, our body is busy producing cortisol, the stress hormone, and it actually steals away from the production of other hormones like estrogen, progesterone that should be naturally fluctuating throughout the month. And the natural fluctuation of our hormones is actually, what we think of as healthy hormonal balance. Hormonal balance isn't a static state, but it's
Right.
that natural fluctuation so that we have energy at the right times of our cycle. And then we have the ability to keep our body in healthy states of function at other times. But when cortisol is stealing, when we're under chronic stress, that's what leads to symptoms of PMS and mood swings and extreme anxiety. And, I've talked to women who feel like 1 or 2 or up to 3 weeks out of the month, it's like, there's so much that impairs our day-to-day functioning that we're not talking about. um,
Absolutely.
and and it's I think one of the beauties of Chinese herbal medicine is really the ability to develop more of an understanding um, of what's going on within our bodies. And so part of what we aim to do with Elix is really help educate on what are the signs and signals of coming from our bodies and what does this mean. And so it starts with our online health assessment, which anyone can take. I'm sure you
Yes.
took it.
Yes, I did the
You'll
picture of
probably
my tongue. Like, let's explain the situation. It was so funny. I was in Paris and I was like, oh, I have to take a picture of my tongue. Hold on.
Yeah, because the tongue is one of the only external organs that's a strong reflection of internal health. So that's why in traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, the tongue is one of the indicators of what your potential pattern of imbalance is. And then we ask other questions on the health assessment, like what is the color of your menstrual blood? How is your digestive health, your level of stress, your even your urine and the quality of your poop. And it's,
Yes.
all these things that feel uncomfortable to talk about, but there's signs and signals from our bodies.
Well, my husband has a very high tolerance for all things nasty, and periods are the one thing that he makes the puking sound. And it's funny because we have two daughters. I mean, they're not at that level yet, but that's something that if when he listens to this, he's going to be like, the whole time. But I'm like, hey, and I always tell him, this is our reality. Like, we have to figure out, and it's not even just about the hormones, the mood swings and stuff. It's the logistics of having to use pads, use tampons, go to the pool, like feeling if you want to have intimacy, blah, blah, blah. So the list goes on. And I think that's so on point to say that really does impact our relationships, our mental health, our connection, wanting to even go out and do water activities. Like, they're big
Sure.
things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and a lot of our male investors really identified with the challenge that we're solving for, which is how do we bring more holistic, side effect-free solutions for hormone health to the market because they have young daughters. And one
Yes.
of our investors shared a story of how his young daughter at 11 years old, when she started her period and she had painful cramps, her gynecologist wanted to put her on birth control. Could you imagine an 11-year-old girl? And he was like, wait, like, what are my other
That
options? I don't want
that
to put
would
my
freak
11-year-old daughter on.
anybody out, right? So,
Right. And we last year was very exciting. We launched the first clinical study in this space where we trialed Elix on a group of 65 participants and found that Elix's herbal formulas and traditional Chinese medicine was effective for up to 15 different symptoms of menstrual and hormone health. And it's kind of like, first of all, I feel like most people who don't have periods would probably be surprised to learn that there could be 15 different symptoms that we
yes. There's
experience,
15
right?
different symptoms, people.
Right. It's like it's not just like the mood swings, the anxiety, the pain, but there could be like bloating, water retention, hormonal acne, breast tenderness, backache, and the list goes on and on. And it's all connected to our menstrual health. And the second thing that we're really proud of is that these herbal formulas were able to help people reduce usage of painkillers. And, I think we've seen with the opioid epidemic and
Yes.
just over reliance on prescription pharmaceutical medication, we had members of the Elix community say that every month during their period, they were downing 1 to 2 bottles of Motrin or aspirin. And I don't know if you're aware, but these things wreak havoc on our gut lining and our
Yes.
stomach. And so, and we know that people are experiencing more and more issues of indigestion and bloating. And so I think there's a strong correlation between our over reliance on OTC pharmaceuticals and what it's doing to our
Sure.
gut.
Absolutely. And it's all interrelated. And so that assessment is super important to be able to share that information, even though it may feel like an invasion of privacy. I mean, honestly, like, you tell your gynecologist some of these things and they're actually, doing an exam downtown. So I really don't think in comparison that that's really like that invasive. Sometimes when I have to do that, I'm like, yeah, buy me dinner first. Like, this is this is a very personal experience. But I think it's so important to say this is something that can be a game changer for
Mhm.
people. And so, can you tell us more about how that personalization process happens after people submit an intake?
Definitely. So we're really proud that we've already had over 200,000 people complete the Elix online health
It's
assessment.
amazing.
Like when we launched, there was this question of like, would people invest 10 minutes of their time? And to your point, answer these deeply personal questions. And what we learned was that there's a real thirst for knowledge. Like people want to know, like, wait, what does the color of my menstrual blood mean? And wait, like, what does my clotting mean? What size is normal? What's not? I think there's all these questions about, is this normal? And they're looking for and we try to bring an East meets West approach. So we have gynecologists, MDs, acupuncturists, herbalists, nutritionists on our team so that we can bring that evidence-based view combined with the ancient wisdom, as you mentioned, of Chinese medicine for thousands of years. So the way that Chinese herbal medicine approaches personalization is really based on pattern diagnosis and looking at the underlying patterns of an individual. So based on how you answer the questions in the health assessment, we can assess like what your TCM pattern might be. And then that leads to a corresponding formula that's best to support the imbalances that you might be experiencing. And we're just super proud, both from our own internal data and from the clinical trial data. We've seen that within 3 months, 90% experience an improvement in pain and or symptoms. And we think that 3-month marker is really important. And what differentiates Elix from, I think, virtually any other supplement treatment out there is both this East meets West approach, the fact that we're creating organic formulations that are personalized based on pattern diagnosis, but also, we really value managing expectations and helping our community build healthy rituals. We never say that we're going to be a miracle pill, work overnight. We always emphasize that these herbs take at least 3 months for you to see the biggest difference. If you have chronic underlying conditions, it might take longer because herbs are actually working with your body to heal at the root cause. And then we post-purchase, I'm really proud of this. We also offer complimentary group onboarding and FAQ chats. And that's really intended to help people build those rituals, like figure out diet, lifestyle interventions that could support their herbal regimen on this health journey, because Chinese medicine is all about the mind body spirit connection, and how what we're putting into our bodies every single day is just as important as the herbal interventions.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important, is that the continuity is something that you need to follow. And also what I love about it is that you're not saying, hey, stop taking all your medications that your medical provider is telling you, right? It's how can we have an integrative health approach, mental health approach, physical health approach to dealing with some of these issues? Because I mean, I don't know, you described having 70 to 80-hour work weeks. And as women of color, Asian American women, I don't know anyone anecdotally that does not have stress.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
I think that it's unavoidable, but it's how we approach the treatment, how we deal with it, that's so important right now.
Right. And that's why we also offer on our social media and on our blogs resources like links to breath work, to cycle syncing your workouts and other components, because we recognize that there are so many tools that can support us on this mental health and menstrual health journey. And Elix really aims to be a friend and an advisor just along this whole entire mind, body, spirit journey.
So you started this company during the pandemic and went from managing other people's money to managing your own company. I'm sure it's changed over time, but what does success look like to you?
So, success to me is really about a feeling. It's really about waking up every single day alive, full of energy, excitement to do the work that can have a positive impact on the world, and to be able to use my skills, talents, and resources in ways that I am proud of and feel excited by. And, I think earlier in my career, success was more so measured by external elements like getting that next promotion, that next job, that next salary, buying an apartment, and so forth. And, I think as my journey has progressed, it's really how I feel, how I can show up, and how I can empower empower, inspire, and motivate others. And I think when there's that intersection between a need in the world of what you want to do and a way that you can contribute your talents and resources, that's when we can, be successful as individuals, but then help inspire more success societally.
I love that. And it's such a positive message that we need right now because I think there is that societal perception and even cultural perception that, yeah, you get the six-figure job or seven-figure job, you get a house, you have the kids, you have,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah. And I think as I've grown older, things have really changed and evolved around that. And so, but being an entrepreneur is not without its challenges. What kinds of challenges have you faced over the course of building this business, and how have you coped with it?
Honestly, I think the biggest challenge comes down to mindset. And it's like, how can I make sure that myself as a leader and CEO and my team, we're in the right mindset to enable us to show up as our best selves and continue building with empowerment, positivity, and intention, right? And it's even going back to the definition of success. You mentioned it, where especially as immigrants, as people of color, oftentimes initially we might look externally to what success is. And I think it's most empowering when we can reframe that for ourselves. Maybe success is actually being proud of ourselves that we launched the business, the idea, having the space where we can celebrate the wins. Because I think it's easy to always look to that future milestone, but if we're not taking a moment to recognize how we got to here, then we're always kind of working from a place of depletion. And so some of those strategies on a mindset perspective on the Elix team, we really consciously build in space for conversations and training around growth mindset. And growth mindset is really, having an open mind and attitude to the possibilities and the challenges come our way, and how can we take an empowering perspective. So let's say something happens that's outside of our control and completely blows up our plan or surprises us, throws things off course. Instead of being frustrated with ourselves, with each other, being down on it, how can we look at every situation as our teacher? And how can we look at the perspective of, why is this happening for me? What is this here to teach me? How can I be better the next time I execute this project, this initiative, with the learnings in mind? And how can we always take that growth perspective? Or I remember there's someone on the team who doesn't think she's the best copywriter, but she's kind of being asked to develop copy. And instead of approaching it from the perspective of, well, I'm not a copywriter, that's the fixed mindset, right? I'm either A or I'm B, approaching it from the perspective of, well, I haven't flexed copywriting skills in the past, but maybe this is an opportunity for me to grow a new skill set and gain new experiences. So, how do we stay within the growth mindset and pivot away from that fixed mindset? How do we view every challenge as an opportunity for learning? I think staying within that framework and mindset is one of the biggest challenges and opportunities, and it's where I try to focus my mind share.
Well, and what you're talking about too is nurturing people's talents, in that it's not all about having an identity as something, but really how can we encourage learning and continual growth. It takes a special person though to have a leadership at the helm that really believes that, right? Versus, hey, just do your job, figure it out, go online, take a few courses. It's really encouraging people to reach their potential. So how do you continue to lead others to have that growth mindset and nurture that? Because obviously you've been in mentorship position.
I try to lead by example. I would never ask my team to do something that I personally haven't done, wouldn't do, couldn't do myself. So, one example is one of our cultural elements is to be the CEO of your own world and really take on experiments and learnings and not be afraid to fail and learn from those things and not be afraid to kind of look silly trying new things. And
Yeah.
so to role model this, I'm in my late 30s. I have no idea what TikTok was like a year ago. And it's a huge platform, right? And so my team gave me the challenge that I should learn TikTok. I should get on it. I was like, okay, instead of being super uncomfortable by this new platform that I didn't even have downloaded, I was like, okay, challenge accepted. And so for 1 month last year, I just made it a goal for myself to post a video every single day, regardless of how uncomfortable, awkward I was, just to learn the platform, experiment, and get learnings. And, I think it's like continuing to put myself out there and demonstrate that it's okay to fail. It's okay to not know what you're doing. It's okay to look silly. It's okay to laugh about things and have fun. And it ended up, the first couple of weeks, it was very slow to get going, but then a couple of those videos went viral and it's insane. And now I think we have like 55,000 followers on TikTok.
That's
I mean, but
amazing.
it definitely took a lot of experimentation, a lot of getting outside of comfort zone. And then once we started seeing initial success, a lot of bringing each other in to brainstorm, figure out how can we make it better? How can we continue growing it? And for Elix, we also do quarterly in-person offsite. So we always try to bring in some new activities to show, not tell these principles. So our last offsite, I actually brought in an improv comedian to host. It
That's
was a surprise
awesome.
for the team. So Stephanie, you should have seen the look on some of my team conversations. I think when the improv comedian walked in, I was like, all right, now we're going to perform improv with each.
That's
I think like
awesome.
Stephanie from our team went under the table. Zach was about to exit the room. But then 30 minutes into all these like silly, fun improv skits, like everyone got outside of their comfort zone. People were impersonating animals, inanimate objects. Like it was fun to see another side of each other. And I think we just need to continue to find ways to
I
create
love
space
that.
for that.
It's such a bonding experience. I'm thinking of now, like picturing some of my coworkers being rabbits and they're like 6'4", whatever. That's something I need to put down for our fun retreat. And I think what's really important is that bonding piece, because when tough times come, when you're trying to brainstorm, it's building that trust with each other, right? That really, really gets you through.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, Stephanie. It's really about building trust at the end of the day. How do we create that safe space such that we can get outside of our comfort zone, fail, talk honestly about overwhelm, about stress? Because unless we can be real and honest with each other at the pace that we're moving, we're never going to build that rocket ship.
Absolutely. Well, you are pioneering a space that has a lot of products and has a lot of solutions, but really showing the science behind it is also really credible. And so I'm really proud of everything that you're doing. And when Iana reached out to me, I was like, oh, absolutely. And so, talking more about the product, first off, it's gorgeous. It looks like you're receiving a old school but modern twist on a scroll, but it feels very much like that. And when you open it, it has your last name on it, knowing that it's personal. And you have these things lined up, and I write it in my passion planner, like take it this week before,
Mhm.
right? So I'm on my month 3, and I definitely notice less bloating and irritability. And so I'm excited for I don't know if I'm excited for my next period, but I'm excited for month 4 just to see how it continues in that continuity. So, tell me more about your intention behind the packaging, because I could tell it's really thoughtful.
Yeah, I mean, when we were coming up with the brand concept behind Elix, and the name Elix is actually the words for elixir and helix. So elixir representing an ancient healing modality, and then helix symbolizing modern research, our DNA and individuality. And so it's this idea of ancient wisdom meets modern science, but personalized for the individual. We really wanted a brand that had the essence of the Chinese heritage without coming off as like kitschy, because I think in this world of like so much cultural misappropriation that
Yeah.
we live in, it's like anything that's like Asian, it feels just like overly done. And we want it to feel elevated and luxurious. like you're taking a moment for yourself. So the Chinese words inside our seal for Elix, it's actually the words 珍惜, which in Chinese means to cherish or treasure. So this idea that you're taking a moment, and our tagline, tune in, harmonize, heal, like you're taking a moment for yourself to tune in, to really harmonize, listen to your body so that you can heal holistically. And a funny story for you is the calligraphy of the words 珍惜 was actually done by my grandfather, who ran the hospital in China.
That's amazing.
He's a lot of my inspiration for the brand. And recently for Lunar New Year, we have a campaign going where we have 珍惜 on red envelopes with lucky cash inside that we're giving to all of our subscribers so that they can experience the Lunar New Year tradition as well. And, we wanted something that was clean and elevated. The blue bottles are a nod to the apothecary feel, but also a nod to blue and white porcelain or china. Like I think china or porcelain was one of the first major, ancient China has had so many major innovations that have really spread globally. And when we look at porcelain and the traditional blue and white porcelain, that's why we still call fine China, because it originated in China. And similarly, herbal medicine and this 5 elements way of looking at our bodies and the world is also an ancient concept that has come out of China. And so, we really wanted to honor those cultural roots and really help more people access and discover how traditional Chinese medicine is a way of living in connection with our bodies and the natural world. And it's a very, I would say, balanced approach to living with the rhythm of every day of our cycle of the seasons. And there's so much that people can learn that I'm personally really excited about the community content educational elements of what we're building.
Absolutely. Well, where can people start taking this assessment where you talk about all those fun details and start the product?
Yeah, so you can visit us on elixhealing.com. That's Elix. And we're also on Instagram and TikTok as Elix Healing. And I'm on TikTok as Lulu the Herbalist.
Yes. And there's a lot of great content on there. So we will definitely put those links in the description. Lulu, thank you so much for joining me. I know, just such a warm person and fun. And I feel like you're a woman of my heart. So I'm sure we'll keep in contact for a long time. And, I wish you just so much luck and success and prosperity in this new year.
Oh, likewise to you, Stephanie. I hope you have an incredible year of the water, Robin. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember to support us for free by subscribing to our mailing list at colorsuccesspodcast.com. There, you will find our socials, YouTube channel, and all episodes on streaming platforms for great additional content. As Rob Heaps from Partner Track said, success is contagious, so come catch it.